welcome to episode 2 of Healing Sexual Trauma. Are you still sleeping on the couch? So that's the title of this series of the video today. So my question is also if you are still sleeping on the couch. And maybe you're feeling a bit weird now, maybe you're laughing, maybe you don't understand what I'm saying, but it's something I went through myself, and today I would like to talk about fear, and sleeping on the couch is in relation to that, because once I became aware of the trauma of the sexual abuse, and once I started to acknowledge it and to allow the feeling, I was not able for weeks to sleep in bed. I slept on the couch for weeks. And still, I have moments in time that I can't sleep in my bed. And it was just July, that's almost a whole month, I slept on the couch. And now I know my patterns and escaping mechanism, and I know sleeping on the couch is one of them. So sometimes I just allow myself that space and I'm going with it. And sometimes I'll immediately can pick up, okay, I'm going through stuff, like what is it? I need to go within, and then I have my things and teachings, learnings to go within. So yeah, today specifically, I would like to talk about fear, like I mentioned. And this is a big part of your healing journey because you carry with a lot of fear. And in all honesty, I didn't know how much fear I was carrying within up until the moment I started to do the inner work in terms of this specific trauma of the sexual abuse. So what will happen is that there are so many layers of fears, there's so many different types of fear in a way, and I'm just going to talk about a few things now because there's so much we can speak about. So one of the fears that will pop up and that you will feel, especially when you only realize and become aware at a later age that you might have been going through sexual abuse as a child or teenager, is that you're afraid that you might be wrong. And that's a big one because you will going back and forwards. But is this true? Can this really be true? Did he do this? Or is this even possible? Am I making this up in my mind? Am I going crazy now? Or maybe like I'm just like making this stuff up. All these things, they will come back up until the time that you are going to trust yourself. So with that, with not having the trust and the faith in yourself, you will look for answers externally outside of yourself. So you will look for validation, maybe from the abuser to acknowledge it, maybe from family members or family friends to give that confirmation, like, yes, you're right. But my beautiful soul, no one is going to give you that confirmation. And you know the answer within. You know it's true. You most likely felt it. You can't feel it if it's not within your body, if you didn't experience that. And then maybe your mind is making up, but that happened in a previous lifetime. That can absolutely be the case, but you will still feel if it's this lifetime or a previous lifetime. So for me personally, I went through that for quite a bit, going back and forward, because I simply couldn't grasp it. My mind couldn't grasp it. I couldn't believe it. And I see this with a lot of people that I'm working with. The step to fully acknowledge it, the step to make it your ugly truth, that's massive, that's a big one, and that takes time. So I want to share with you to take that time and be kind to yourself. Give yourself that space. It's okay that the one day you feel a little bit more doubt and the other day you feel like, but I just know, I can't even explain it, I just know. So give yourself that space. And in terms of sleeping on the couch, like I mentioned, I did that at the beginning for weeks, and sometimes I even fall back to it, like now still. There are a few things that you can do, and here too, one of the things is to give yourself that space and to allow yourself that if you feel more comfortable on the couch, to maybe just stay there for a few hours or to stay the night or whatsoever. And if you would like to have more information on what you can do to break free of that and to become more comfortable sleeping in your bed again, please send me a DM so that I can share some more in-depth information on that with you too. So the other thing that you might be afraid of, which is very scary, is speaking your truth and actually sharing your story. This is also very difficult, and some of us, we are talkers, so we want to share our story immediately with friends or close friends or with family members or with anyone. Others, they are more like dealing with it themselves. So it's up to you to feel what makes you feel more comfortable, but it's very important to have at least one person that you can talk with. So if you don't have a close friend or someone that you feel safe with, please then look for help externally. There are people like myself who can help you, who can guide you, who can support you. It's very important that you are being heard and that you create, that there's a space for you where you can be yourself and without any judgment. So speaking your truth and sharing your story with the outside world, that's in a later phase. You don't need to deal with that immediately. So take it little steps. Maybe you never really fully want to share your story, and that's also okay. But I would like you to start that journey, and talking about it, it helps. You will see that it will help you. The moment that you start speaking your truth or start sharing your story, you will be afraid that you will lose people. You will be afraid that people won't believe you. And both will happen. I was super afraid to lose my family and some of my family members. And I did lose a lot of people in the process of my healing journey, but those people don't belong in my life anymore, so that's okay. I made peace with that, and I know everyone came into my life for a reason, and some people are here to stay and some people were there just to teach us something or to let us grow and evolve and remember, of course. So you might be afraid to break up your family, because if you start speaking up and sharing your story, maybe it's, everything will break down. Yes, and that can happen. And I want you to know that that's not your fault, because the reason that the family is falling apart is not on you. It's the abuser who created that already years ago when the abuse was taking place. So when we're dealing with this fear, and when all these triggers and all these feelings are coming up into the surface, it's your inner child that is in pain. It's the 5-year-old you, it's the 7-year-old you, it's the 9-year-old you. It's that little girl who requires love and attention and acknowledgement. It's her that you need to take by the hands and give that love and allow her and tell her it's okay. Because the adult you've got this. But you need to bring that part of your inner child back to you again, in the wholeness of the now and in your body and in your soul. So like I said yesterday, when the trauma was taking place, most likely your soul left your body, because then you feel less. Your body shuts down with breathing slowly or stopping. And this all will come back as you go through your healing journey. And that's your inner child who is now experiencing it in your adult body, in the now and in the here, with the soul connected to your body. So one of the things that I was most afraid of, and I think many people are the flashbacks. And they are coming whether you want it or not. The moment that you are opening yourself up and making your ugly truth the truth, it's like opening a tap of water and you can't close it anymore. And the flashbacks will come, the uncomfortable feelings will come, the fears will come, everything will come to the surface. And it's not nice, but it's necessary to go through. Because if we don't heal these parts within, I'm convinced that at a later age you will get a chronic illness, you will get sick. So once you now are able to face it head on, you are healing these parts and you're removing these lower frequencies from your body and replacing them with love and with light. So let me dive a little bit deeper into these flashbacks, because this is a very common thing. This is flippin' scary, and I was so fearful. I just didn't want to feel it. I didn't want to go to that place, and I just thought I could not do it and I would not survive it. So my flashback started almost immediately after I became aware of this. And it's terrible because they can be triggered by just a word, a smell, a sound, someone saying this or something specific, and then bam, you go into this roller coaster and it is if you're not here anymore. So for example, one of my flashbacks was triggered by hearing the words something in relation to a car. And I went back as if I was in a car and the trauma was taking place. And what I did when I'm having flashbacks, I slow down breathing. Sometimes I start hyperventilating. Sometimes I stop breathing. And I'm so far out, I don't actually know that I'm in Cape Town. So for all it can be, I'm in that car and I feel like the 9-year-old one. And it's flipping scary because in that moment, you don't realize you're not in that moment. And for me, it helped to then slowly come back to myself. And luckily, the first few times I was with other people who could guide me through this. So they learned me to listen to my surrounding sounds, to the birds that you can hear outside. For me, it helped a lot to remember and keep remembering I'm in Cape Town, I'm safe. I'm on the other side of the world, I'm safe. And then slowly I would come back. I would be coming out of that space. And why it's so scary and why you don't want to go back to that moment is because you can feel everything. Sometimes you can see it, but you feel more in a way than what you did those years back when it was taking place, because back then your soul wasn't there, was not connected to your body. Right now, when you have these flashbacks, most likely your soul is connected. Maybe you're not fully in your body, but you're more conscious and more aware, so you feel so much more. And yeah, for me, most probably you can hear it in my voice. These are still very difficult moments and they still can be very scary, but I learned to overcome them. And I have moments in time that I was laying on the couch and I was not able to move for about 2 hours because I thought I was in my old bedroom and I couldn't, my mind, and I couldn't bring myself back that I was in Cape Town in my apartment. So I literally was laying there frozen for about 1.5 to 2 hours. too afraid to move, too afraid to sit up. And I was just like, okay, just be with it. I need to go through this in order to release it, so this is good. And that was how I calmed myself down, and how I eventually came out of the moment and realized I was 2 hours further in time. So these things will happen. But what I want you to know is that you can do it, because it is already in the past. It already happened to you. So right now, what you're doing with reliving these moments, and sometimes they come at the most uncomfortable times, it's releasing that trauma, releasing that energy, and releasing that pain, those lower frequencies from your body. And the only way you can do that is to kind of go through it again. And you will be able to shift that easier. So at the beginning, like I said, maybe you're stuck on the couch for 2 hours. But at a certain stage, it will be easier to shift it. So it might not take that long. Sometimes it still does. But you learn to be okay with it, because you know that afterwards you just feel such a big release. You feel that you let go of so much weight that you were carrying with, and that's completely worth it. So once you learn that, and once you feel that difference, and your mind is also learning that it's good for you because you feel better, so your feeling and your mind are connected and in tune too, then you're like, okay, I can do this, I'm going to do this, because I know at the end of the game it's going to bring me so much more. If I do this now, like tomorrow I will be another version of myself, even better, even more in tune, even more self-love, more boundaries. So yeah, this is one of the things, the flashbacks, it's a big thing for everyone, and everyone goes through it in a different way. But what I've learned is that everyone has to deal with it one way or the other. And for some people it can be really intense, for other people it's less intense, but it doesn't matter, because even if you think it's less intense, to you it's still intense. So never just wave it away. Don't do that. Acknowledge what you feel and be with that. So important to give yourself that space, especially in terms of fear. I mean, at the beginning, people were not allowed to hug me. My closest friends, they couldn't hug me, touch me, whatever. It was just too much. I had to relearn so many things. I was not able to look people in the eye, but I will speak more about that tomorrow. But it's so much, it's so overwhelming. And you basically need to relearn how to feel safe again. And that itself has so many different layers. So you need to do things differently, you need to become aware of more things, and then you will learn that you're constantly living in fear. That when you leave your home and you enter the streets or whatever, you're constantly in a flight or fight modus. So you're never in the present, you're always afraid, you're always like never really here. And that for me was like, whoa, I've been living this like this for almost 32 years, and I didn't even realize how much fear I was carrying within. And it's since several years that this fear was coming more to the surface. Like, for example, I was attracting certain things in my life, that I got robbed and threatened with a knife, or that I got into kind of a thing with the Uber driver up more in the northern area, so in Pretoria, and all these things, more violence, but also people interacting with me on the street, and I would like start running and screaming, and from the one side of the street just run to the other side of the street without any valid reason even. But to me, that was already like too much. That was already triggering a fear, which was sitting so deep, and it was slowly coming to the surface. So much that I had evenings that I was going out with my friends, and for example, a guy would come and would start dancing with me or whatsoever, and I would completely freak out. I would start crying. I didn't even know why, but it was too much. I couldn't deal with it. I had no clue, hey? I didn't know what was happening. My friends would just put me in the Uber, I would go home, and then that was about it. And only once I was working through this, I started to connect all these things, and I was like, whoa, like my soul and my body was prepping me for this moment in time and slowly showing me things already previous years, but I was not able to pick up on it. So yes, it's all about relearning, learning and unlearning. So you need to discover the new you. You need to feel again what's safe for you and what isn't safe. You need to learn your body that you are in control now, and that's a big one, because you need to take your power back, and that's important. You are in charge, so you can always say no. You can always walk away from a situation. You can always cancel. You need to set your boundaries, and that's something you need to learn basically kind of from scratch. So setting boundaries, to me, is self-love and is self-care, and can be very difficult at the moment, can be very uncomfortable because you might not be used to it, because your boundaries have been crossed for many times. So you feel powerless, and now you're starting to learn to take your power back slowly. And that can be an intense process. So here to be with it, be loving for yourself, and take the time. It's okay to maybe at first be able to set a certain boundary, and then maybe it's more difficult. It will be back and forward, but you will learn it, and you will start choosing you more. And that's important, because it's all about you, and it's something you will have to learn, but it will be something that is increasing your self-love, increasing your self-worth and your confidence. So it will bring you a lot, I can promise you that. But fear is a very big red line throughout your whole journey, and basically all feelings are always coming back to fear or love. So today I'm just specifically talking about fear. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about shame and guilt, but that's also coming back to fear. What else? Yeah, the boundaries. There's actually a lot to say about the boundaries, and I don't want to dive too deep into that for now. I just think it's important to already start to become aware of when someone is crossing your boundary, and that can be already when someone is putting his hands on your shoulder. It's okay to then say, like, I don't feel comfortable with that. It's scary at the beginning, but I've done it, and it gave me my power back. It are those little things which can already be too much. So try to learn for yourself to feel what is making you feel uncomfortable, and to then try to act on that. Sometimes that can mean someone is coming too close by, I'm stepping backwards, I'm stepping sidewards. So many things that are so easy that I didn't pick up on. Someone had to tell me these things. Like, I was passing someone on the street, and I was just feeling that I was being afraid, but it never crossed my mind that I could cross the street and walk on the other side of the street. It are those things which are making a big difference, especially at the beginning, and you will work towards that point that you can just walk normally on the streets again. But at the beginning, give yourself that space. So take that step backwards, sideways, or cross that street. do that, listen to that, try to become aware of that. It will give you back your power. Yes, I think for today I'm going to leave it with that for now. So feel free to share this video with anyone this can be interesting for, or with anyone this can be helpful for. If you have any questions, send me a DM or leave a comment. And I also would love to hear from you if these videos resonate with you, and yeah, if it's helpful. So tomorrow I'm going to talk a bit more about the shame and the guilt. And yes, that's another biggie, because that are big topics in the transformation of the healing of your sexual trauma. So thank you for watching again, and I hope to see you tomorrow.